Carolina sends their seniors out on a high note thanks to the perfect game from Luka Bogavots at just the right time.
This is Tyler Hansbrough, and you're listening to Locked On Tar Heels.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Wednesday, March 4th, 2026. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm coming to you live on this Wednesday morning about 9:30 Eastern time. I'm your host, Isaac Schade. You're joining me at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day, all part of the Locked On Network, now the #1 sports podcast network out there. Thank you so much for making us your first listen or watch. And I want to give a special shout out to all our everydayers, all the members of the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, and of course our insiders as well. Would love to have you join any of those groups. The links are down in the show notes. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the app, create an account, and use code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. Oh boy, it is a great day to be a Tar Heel, ladies and gentlemen. The Tar Heels beat Clemson 67-63 to run their season record to 24-6 overall, 12-5 in ACC play. What a run they are on. What a beautiful and special senior night it was. And that's where we're going to start. We'll talk about Luka's game, his best game at the right time, senior night, the perfection in the Smith Center this season. Then we'll get to our Four Corners recap of this game, including that last defensive play that was really special and 6 years in the making. We'll get to our Shady stats of the game. Yes, I'm pluralizing it because we got two of them today. Oh, baby. And then I'll give you some updates on where things are at with the ACC tournament seeding, what Carolina needs to do to get a 3, what they need to do to get a 4 seed, all of that, and an NCAA tournament update as well. So going to be a packed show, a fun show, a great show. Let's lock in, let's lock on, and let's go. Biggest takeaway, man. Yes, we got to get to senior night, but if we started anywhere else but Luka Bogavots, it would be podcasting malfeasance of me. Luka Bogavots. What is so cool is, let me remind us all contextually, myself included, is that last night happened coming off of one of his worst game that Carolina's been without Caleb Wilson. As a reminder, in the first 4 games without Caleb, Luka had 15, 19, 12, and 3 points or something like that. Just was really good in those 4 games, filling in and starting again, but just had 5 against Virginia Tech. Didn't really have a good game. And so it's like, all right, how is Luka going to rebound? Well, as Coach Davis talked about post-game, Carolina really couldn't get anything going around the rim, either through post or penetration. The Clemson defense is really good. We talked about that. We prepared for it. We knew it. And so Carolina was going to have to hit shots, and that's what they did. And here's what I love. Luka getting hot at just the right time. And in the first half, it's like, all right, Luka's fine. Got 3 points, took 2 shots, made a 3, had a rebound, had 2 assists, 1 turnover. Okay. But then the second half came and went, and this dude just lit it up. 17 points. And he went through that flurry where he had those 3 threes. That step back was the most ridiculous of them. That was the one that put, as Carolina was really coming back, once Clemson had gone up a little bit there midway, or I guess I say midway, it was more like 6 or 7 minutes to go. But that was a critically important stretch. And what I love is that Coach Davis was recognizing his guy, recognizing what he wanted. So there was the first one that tied it at 52, and then it was the step back that put Carolina back up 56-55. That was the one that to me was insane, absolutely crazy, and then had the next one that put Carolina up 4 with 4:04 to go. And so that, he had those 3 threes. The third one was at 4:04. The first one was at 6:34. So basically 2.5 minutes of action, he hits 3 threes. And I love that Coach Davis did that very intentionally. He said post-game, quote, Luka hit a 3, and he's one of those guys that when he hits one, he wants another look. So we called 3 straight plays for him just to be able to get him open. He's a guy that obviously can hit open shots, but he can also make tough contested shots, and he did that tonight. Absolutely, man. And so, will we continue to get this Luka? I don't know. Can he continue to shoot like that every game? I don't know that he will. But if you combine that with his ability to get to the rim in most games, obviously it was tough sledding for everybody against Clemson, him included, Seth Trimble included. But man, I'm so happy for him. And what I love about it for Luka is that it wasn't for him. If you listen to his comments post game, he did that because he wanted to get it for the seniors. And we all get that as Americans who love college basketball, right? We're like, yeah, man, we got to send our seniors out on a high note on senior night. But he's coming over from Montenegro. This is brand new to the whole American collegiate basketball system. And he said basically like we had to find a way to get it done for the seniors, and we did, man. I love the camaraderie of this team because Luka has this crazy night, and it wasn't about, yeah, look at me, look what I did. It's about look what I did for my teammates, man. That how can you not but love it? Speaking of which, let's move to senior night. Seth, like, yes, this is about both Elijah Davis and Seth Trimble, but Seth Trimble, who, again, according to Isaac Trotter from CBS Sports, is one of just 22 high major seniors who have played all 4 years at the same school. I want to go through and get the list because I want to like honor all 22 of those guys, but achievement. And I love what Coach did. Like he said a lot about Seth post game, but it was just 3 words for me. He stuck around. And that just stuck with me, that phrase. He said, Seth was part of my first recruiting class when I became a head coach. And man, a meaningful moment for a meaningful family. Meanwhile, Elijah's going through it too. And that was really cool. Coach Davis was asked, like, how did you keep it together today? Because that's crazy. And he said, I haven't kept it together. I haven't kept it together all day because there's Elijah and there's the Seth of it all. And there's RJ being honored and it's senior night and the stakes of this isn't some homecoming throwaway game. This is a game against a tough-nosed Clemson team who we have to beat to try to get a double bye in the ACC tournament, to try to continue to grow our NCAA tournament seeding, all that crazy, crazy stuff. And I love the moment too, where as a parent, how could you not, as a human, how could you not love the fact that he was able to get Elijah back in at the very end of the game? And it was pretty funny. Coach Davis spoke on it post game. He said about Elijah, he was shocked that I called him in at the end of the game. And then Coach Davis went on to say, as soon as Seth went to the free throw line, because remember, Carolina is up 3, and we'll get to that defensive play in a minute, but Seth is fouled. Seth goes to the free throw line, hits the first to put Carolina up 4 with 9/10 of a second left. And so Coach says, quote, as soon as Seth went to the free throw line, I don't know why, it just popped into my head. If Seth hits this one free throw, then we're up by 4 with 9/10 of a second to go. The game's over. So I went to the other coaches and I said, hey, if Seth hits this free throw, it's over, right? He said, they go, yeah, but they didn't understand why I was asking. As soon as Seth hit that free throw, I said, Elijah, go in. And it was almost like he didn't remember his name. He just looked at me and was like, you're putting me in now? And coach is you need to go watch the press conference. Coach is making these ridiculous. It was such a great team moment, such a good father-son moment. And then, you've got the post game, they kind of to having both Elijah and Seth speak. They hadn't done that for a while. The understanding what like coming out of COVID, and then several of the guys didn't really want to. And so I loved it coming back around, man. It's a special connection. But I loved that Coach Davis was just a dad in that moment. You see video of him and his wife, Leslie, just sitting in front of the scores table. He's got his arm around her, just watching this. There was a video of Elijah and Seth, and then they both speak. Man, it was just so cool. Elijah started his by just basically presenting the gospel. It was really crazy, encouraging people like, hey, if you don't know Jesus, you need to give your life to him. And so that was really, for me personally, was really neat. For those of you that don't know, I'm a man of faith, and I'm never going to push that agenda, but you need to know that matters to me. And so I thought that was cool. And then Seth was talking to his family. He said, I can't even look at you guys right now because I might crying. I love that he shouted out all the seniors in the building in his speech. But then he turned to Coach Davis and he said, Coach Davis, you took a chance on a 16-year-old kid from Menominee Falls, Wisconsin, and you gave him an offer. And it was the best thing that could have happened in my life. And man, like whatever you want to say about the up and down nature of how Carolina has been in these first 5 years of the Hubert Davis era, you cannot fault the way that he loves these young men, not just because of what they can do for him on a basketball floor, but because they are dudes who he, similar to Coach Smith, similar to Coach Williams, just wants to train up to be men. And he truly, like literally in the video, Coach Davis, in speaking to Seth, just ended it by saying, "I love you." Man, that's not common. Do you guys realize that? Like, I mean, it's such a special moment. The RJ Davis ceremony at halftime, really neat. His parents are out there on the floor with him. Jones Angel did a great job at emceeing that moment. The coolest part of it for me, and maybe this is the dad in me coming out again, but just seeing RJ's dad take his off and just wipe the tears away. Like, this is family. That's what I want to say, you know? Incredible stuff. Great to see RJ's jersey in the rafters. Glad they were able to get that done. Man, so neat. And Carolina obviously wraps it up 18-0 at home. Coach Davis talked about how much the success of that was due to not necessarily their play, but of course their play, but because of the fans. Carolina goes 18-0, the most home wins ever. And as a reminder, I've said this, let me tell you again, this is the 6th time in Smith Center history that Carolina has gone undefeated at home. Let me remind you of the outcomes of the others. 1986-87 season, undefeated at home, Elite 8. 92-93, undefeated at home, national champs. 04-05, undefeated at home, national champs. In fact, one of those national champs is now an assistant coach. What up to Sean May? And I guess the 92-93 situation is the same with Sully. 2010-11 season, that's like Kendall Marshall's freshman year, Elite 8 run. And then 16-17, undefeated at home, national champs. I don't know what's going to happen this year, but that precedent of making at least the Elite 8 in the other 5, that has me feeling good about what's about to happen over the course of the next several weeks. Buckle up. Let's go. It's going to be a ride. Carolina find themselves in a similar situation 6 years ago to what they did in the final defensive possession last night. But this time around, they found some success. How did it happen? I'll explain that and the rest of our four corners all coming up in just a second.
I'm Clea Butler, host of Locked On Women's Basketball, and this is Mazda's Women's Basketball Snapshot, celebrating the work no highlight reel can ever capture. Number 1 ranked UConn dominated St. John's 85-49 on Sunday at Madison Square Garden, extending its winning streak to 47 games. The Huskies capped a perfect 31-0 regular season, including 20-0 in the Big East. UConn is winning by nearly 38 points per game, the 3rd largest average margin in Division I history. Since 1999 to 2000, UConn has 9 undefeated regular seasons, as many as all other programs combined, and has turned 6 of those into national championships. These moments are earned off the clock, those long before the lights ever come on. The sweat, the fakes, the doubt, the scrapes, and coming back for more every time. Mazda puts that same drive into every detail. Wins define the moment, putting in the work, that defines you. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you.
Thanks for making Locked On Tar Heels your first listen or watch of the day. Thanks for making the Locked On Network the #1 sports podcast network out there. If you haven't already, go check out our brand new Everydayers Club, where you get ad-free versions, one-on-one texting with me, and so many more perks. The link for that is down in the show notes, or you can find it at lockedontarheels.supercast.com. Let's get to the Four Corners recap of Carolina's 67-63 win over Clemson. I want to start with the final Clemson possession of this game. Carolina's up 3, 10 seconds to go after Clemson brought it to the front court, calls timeout. And I want to remind us all of what happened, what would it be, 6 years ago, Carolina's first ever home loss to Clemson. They're 59-0. Carolina's up 3 with about 12 seconds to go. Clemson inbounds it from the other side. Leaky Black is on the ball. They end up getting a game-tying 3 to send it to overtime. Carolina had decided not to foul, and then they lose to Clemson in overtime. In this game, Carolina once again has decided not to foul, but it's really interesting. Coach Davis said, "We didn't know that specific play, but defensively, we were switching everything. We put in a lineup that we felt like could do that, execute that from a defensive standpoint. We were switching everything, not just on the ball, but also off the ball. It made it difficult for them to get the ball in, and it's why they drove into the lane to get the easy 2. And so what I love about this situation here is, this is the right call by the staff at the right time. So massive props to Coach Davis and his staff for getting the right defensive call in. And then kudos to the team for executing it, because both sides of that have to work. The guys have to trust their coaches and do it. And go back and watch that play. You can see it. Carolina, because Clemson almost had a 5-second violation because Carolina's just switching everything. They were communicating well. They did it. They were ready. They were prepared and pulled it off. And Coach Brownell said post-game, the first three they were looking to tie it. They weren't looking to get a 2. Their first 3 options were all 3-point shots, but he said Carolina each one of them away with that switching everything opportunity. And so, hey, you got to give Hubert Davis his flowers. You guys, come on, do it. Let's get after it. Now, we mentioned the personnel that was able to do that. Henry Vasar, as a reminder, had fouled out, but I don't know that he would have been in anyway in this moment, because so what they put out was Seth Trimble, Derek Dixon, Jonathan Powell, Luka Bogavac, and Jaron Stevenson. So it's basically the guys that started minus Henry plus JP. And so it was so cool to see Carolina thwart a situation that had basically lost them the game 6 years ago, man. Love it, love it, love it. Now, Coach Davis does prefer to foul in those situations, up 3 under 10 seconds, which they inbounded it right at 10 seconds. But what he said was, in this situation, I decided to change my mind because Henry fouled out, and I was nervous about the possibility of them getting an offensive rebound. So maybe they make the first, miss the second, get an offensive rebound, put back, and tie it up that way. So thus, he elected to switch. I love that. You have your principles, but you read the situation, you read the context, and you're willing to make a change. Really, really good stuff from Coach Davis. Number 2 in the Four Corners recap. How about Derek Dixon? This dude has the clutch gene, and he's done it multiple times this season in 3 of Carolina's absolutely biggest wins. Let's go back to the Kentucky game at Rupp. Outside of the BYU environment, which was a neutral site, but kind of away, this was Carolina's first true road game of the season, right? Am I saying that right? I don't want to say something that's wrong. That would be silly. Yeah, no, it's the first true road game of the season. Carolina is down 62-61 with under a minute to go. He hits that 3 to give Carolina a 2-point lead with 53 seconds. And then on the next possession, after Kentucky ties it up, he gets around the corner, gets a layup to put Carolina up 2. Kentucky never scores again. Carolina gets a free throw to ice it. How about the Duke game a couple weeks ago? Remember, Carolina is down 6 with 2.5 minutes to go, 68-62 Duke. Carolina then goes on a 9-0 run, all of them 3-pointers, all of them in some form through Derek Dixon. He hits the first 3 to cut it to 3, and then he gets the assist to Henry Vasar to tie it at 68. And then, of course, we all remember the Seth shot, but lest we forget the craziness of the pass that Derek Dixon made to wrap it around everybody, almost blind, get it out to Seth. Normal humans like you and I do not see that pass, man. Crazy stuff. And then, of course, for Derek Dixon last night, the third time, a clutch moment. And, we're about to talk about Jaron here in just a second, but Jaron gets that all-important offensive rebound, kicks it out. Coach Davis calls a timeout. They get the ball back in. Derek Dixon comes around back to the right side toward the bench at the top of the key, buries the 3 to give Carolina a 5-point lead with under a minute to go. Am I thinking that right? 5 points with 46 seconds. And so, man, all of these in the closing moments of games. Clutch gene, Derek Dixon, you love it. Let's talk about Jaron Stevenson, number 3 in the Four Corners recap. Similar to Luka, he was coming off not a great game from the Virginia Tech game. On Saturday, he had just 4 points, had 4 rebounds, 0 assists, and 4 turnovers. I don't know if you remember that, and fouled out of the game. And so Jaron's coming off a moment where, similar to Luka, I was asking the question, how can Jaron respond? How can Jaron step back up and step in? Well, just fine, thank you very much. 9 points, 10 rebounds, 3 of them offensive, and they all seem to come at really important moments in this game. Obviously, the one we just mentioned, where Carolina, with about a minute to go, who took that shot? It was a Luka 3. That's right. Luka was heat checking everything, and the ball, it didn't wedgie, but it kind of got held up. Jaron just read it perfectly, got it as he's falling out, saved it back in. Carolina gets a timeout, and then that Dixon 3 to go back up 5. I mean, one of the things that has been talked about Jaron so much is how at times he's not like a killer. He's got all this great capability, but he's just such a nice guy, man. I love that he's so kind. But in between the lines, man, you got to go crazy. And in these 6 games without Caleb Wilson, I feel like we've seen that version of Jaren, where he's realized, like, I've got to go. I've got to do it. And he's playing tough. He's the version of the Tar Heels that they need. Had a great stretch in the second half as Carolina built out that 7-point lead, as like they had that 12-0 run. Jaren got hit, had made both those free throws, like really, really good moments. Carolina only had 5 second chance points in this game. He had the first 2 of those. First career game with double-digit rebounds, and I hated it for him. He missed the front end of that 1-and-1 late, which thankfully didn't come back to bite Carolina, because then Luka stepped up and made 2 of 2, which I forgot to mention when we were talking about his great game earlier. But had Jaren hit just one of those, he would have had his first career double-double, which I know isn't a thing, but I care about those things, and I think it's neat. All right, Four Corners recap point number 4. Let's get to his front court mate, Henry Vesar. I know Henry fouled out, but you were reminded in this game in multiple ways of how critically important Henry Vesar is to this team. He was a plus 19 on the game behind only Luka's plus 22, 13 points, 6 of 9 from the field, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, and just 1 turnover for Henry. I haven't gone back to look if that's a career high in assists, but like, he was the engine that fueled Carolina out of the gate. He had assists on Carolina's first 2 possessions. For those first 2 3-pointers, there was one for Seth, one for Derek Dixon, had a paint basket, and then a 3rd assist. So when Carolina got to 15 points, he was responsible for 10 of those first 15. And then he got his second foul with still like 12 minutes to go in the first half. And I was concerned, man, because how's Carolina going to hold up without him? How critically important he had already been? Well, you learned everything you needed to know quickly. Clemson goes on a 10-2 run to take a lead at 19-17. And then another great savvy move by Coach Davis. I don't like it when it's an automatic benching with 2 fouls. If it's a guy you trust, get him back in there. Coach Davis did, and Henry was critical in that moment. And then the last thing I'll say about Henry here is, yes, I know that RJ Godfrey had a career night, 22 points on 10 of 13 shooting. But what I thought was so important was that he made a field goal with 8:51 to go and then never got another basket the rest of the way, as Henry and everyone else chipped in. But critically, that was Henry to get it done. Made just 1 free throw. That was his only point in the final 8:50 of the game. Really, really good stuff. All right, you guys, we got to get to our Shady stats of the game, as well as I want to update you on where ACC tournament seating is at and where NCAA tournament seating is at. We'll do all that to come up in just a second. Right after I tell you about TurboTax. Y'all, it's tax time, but for a lot of us, the old way of doing taxes is, it's a lot. Trying to book an appointment, that's not the most convenient thing. Sitting in a waiting room with a stack of papers, that's awful. Emailing back and forth, wondering, like, do you really get my situation or what I'm trying to explain to you? This year, here's the good news. You're getting a major, major update because Intuit TurboTax now has in-person locations nationwide. You can meet face-to-face with a real tax expert, and your documents get uploaded straight to your TurboTax app on the spot. And just like that, you're done. Your TurboTax expert works to get you every dollar that you deserve, while you get real-time notifications as you just go about your day. It's the relief of walking in and meeting a real person and walking out knowing that your taxes are being handled right. I love that. I love that peace of mind. So if you want to check that out, head on over to turbotax.com/local to find a store near you. Appointment TurboTax. Check it out today. This episode is also brought to you by our friends at Game Time. The biggest stretch of the college basketball season is almost here. Buzzer beaters, bracket busters, those unforgettable moments that everybody's talking about the next day. Being there live for those moments, man, that is true bucket list stuff. But actually getting there can often be really difficult because it's like long queues to get tickets. You got prices jumping up on you at checkout. And that's why I love Game Time, man. It's the app that gives the advantage back to you, the fans, with constant innovation. It's how you unlock amazing tickets and experiences in just a few taps. So easy to use. The Game Time guarantee means 100% legitimate tickets delivered on time, best price. And here's the best part. Fees are included. So what you see is actually what you pay, period. No stress, no guesswork, just a smooth experience from start to finish. That's exactly what you want during the busiest part of the season. Look, tickets are really expensive at Duke, but Game Time's a great way to help you get them. Or maybe you want to go to the ACC tournament next week. Check out great parking and tickets and all that on Game Time as well. Take the guesswork out of buying college basketball tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. It's time for the Shady stat of the game. It was raining this morning. I forgot my sunglasses, so we're going with my blue light glasses today. And I got 2 Shady stats for you, and both of them are kind of wild and speak to the capability of this team. The first Shady stat is the numbers 5-1. Coach Davis said post-game, this is the 15th game without Seth or Henry or Caleb in the lineup. For this team to do what they've done this year, they need to be recognized for that. That's what Coach Davis said post-game. And what he meant was Carolina, let me put some context on it, has played 30 games, and in exactly half of those, 15 of those games, they've been without at least one of their big 3. So 9 games without Seth, 6 games now without Caleb, and Henry missed the first 2 of those. And that team is 24-6 on the season, 12-5 overall. But here's the crazy thing. You would think, oh man, they've probably accumulated those 6 losses in the 15 games that those guys. Au contraire, my friend. Au contraire, mon frere. I guess that's the actual thing. In those 15 games, Carolina is 13-2. In the 9 games that Seth missed, Carolina went 8-1, the lone loss being Thanksgiving Day to Michigan State. And as you know, Carolina is 5-1 in the 6 games that Caleb has missed, with the loss being the loss at NC State. For this team to circle the wagons and do what they've done, again, going 13-2 in games that they're without either Seth or Caleb or Henry or multiple of them, is wild. And so you just buckle up for if and when Caleb gets back, and good grief, that means Henry and Seth, you got to stay out there too. There's a lot of potential ahead. So that's Shady stat number 1, 5-1 without Caleb, or you could say 13-2 without at least one of the big 3. Shady stat number 2. You know that Carolina has been just kind of fine from the 3-point line this season. Even with last night's 12 of 27 performance, Carolina is just 34.3% on the season. It's not something to write home about and be like, hey, we're world beaters. But what they are really good at is two-point shooting. They're right now, last night's numbers included, 38th in the nation, shooting 56.8% from 2. But here's what happened last night. And the Shady stat of the game is the number 32%. Because that was what Carolina shot from 2-point range last night. Their worst 2-point percentage of the season. And if I told you, hey, Carolina, they're going to have a game. You know, they're not a great 3-point shooting team, but they're fine. But they're going to have a game where they shoot 32% from 2. I would have told you they're going to lose that game. Carolina goes 10 of 31 last night from inside the arc. That was by far their season low. Their previous season low from 2 was 45.5% against Kentucky. Last night, they were 13 percentage points lower than that. In fact, they've only now had 3 games under 50% from 2 this entire season. But last night, Carolina buoyed that, offset it by going 12 of 27 from 3, 44.4%. That's one off of tying their season high of most made threes. It ties the 3rd highest 3-point percentage of the season in a single game for Carolina. So that is, again, what do you need to see in March? A team that is kind of matchup proof, a team that can do it from 2 like Carolina typically does, or a team that even when you take away those 2s, they can still do it from 3 as Carolina did last night. I am so impressed by that. Yeah, it's disappointing. They shot their worst percentage from 2, but so encouraging that they still found a way to win that game. Unreal stuff. All right, let me give you a couple postseason updates here. ACC tournament scenarios. I feel like I've been talking about these till I'm blue in the face, but it's not my fault. It's not your fault. It's the ACC's fault for making their dumb tiebreaker scenarios so confusing. But I'm here to interpret it for you. I've been getting all the questions about Isaac. Why does Miami matter? Miami doesn't matter. Why do we care what they do? I'll explain it to you. There is a scenario for Carolina to still get the 3 seed in the ACC tournament. Here's what's got to happen. Miami has 2 remaining games. They're at SMU tonight. They host Louisville Saturday. For Carolina to get the 3 seed, they would need to lose both of those games, and Carolina would have to beat Duke on Saturday. If those 3 things happen, regardless of any other results, Carolina is your 3 seed. The reason for that is Miami right now is 1 game ahead of Carolina, but they beat Carolina in the lone head-to-head meeting. So the Tar Heels would have to be 1 game better than them in the standings to beat that tiebreaker. So again, Miami has to lose their final 2 games, putting them 1 behind Carolina in the loss column, but the Tar Heels also have to win at Duke. But here's the interesting thing. To get the 4 seed, there are 3 different individual things that can happen. Number 1, the easiest thing to do, Carolina controls their own destiny. So beat Duke Saturday, regardless of anything else that happens, you are at least the 4 seed. Can't get the 2 seed. Virginia clinched that last night with their win over Wake Forest. So you beat Duke, but if you don't, Miami, if they win either of those 2 games, doesn't have to be both, and it doesn't matter which opponent. If Miami wins tonight at SMU, it's done. Carolina has clinched the 4, and they can't get to the 3 that way. Or if they lose tonight but beat Louisville Saturday, done. Carolina clinches the 4 seed. So beat Duke, or Miami wins 1 game, any opponent, or Clemson loses Saturday to Georgia Tech. That would do it as well. So it doesn't have to be any of those, doesn't have to be a combination of them, just one of those 3 things. Carolina beats Duke, or Miami wins 1 game, or Clemson loses Saturday. Any of that would get Carolina the 4 seed. Make sense? I sure hope so, because I'm so sick and tired of explaining it. And again, not your fault. It's the ACC's fault. NCAA tournament updates. Wouldn't you know it? I was scared that Carolina's win was going to drop them to the bubble based on what Joe Lunardi typically does. But no, he actually moved Carolina up to the 5 seed line. And let me check if he's done anything new since then. Joe Lunardi, where are you at? But as of last night, he had moved Carolina up not only to the 5 seed line, but to the 2nd overall 5 seed. Yeah, no new updates since then. So he moved Carolina ahead of St. John's and Arkansas and Vanderbilt, who won last night, but they had to win in overtime. So Carolina, like right now, the 5 line at Lunardi's stuff, and I get there's so many bracketologists out there, but he's the most famous. He's the one that everybody follows. It goes Tennessee, Carolina, St. John's, Arkansas on the 5 line. If you're interested in the 4 line, because honestly, Carolina's closer to the 4 than they are to the 6 line right now. The 4s in order that he has anyway are Kansas at 13th overall, the number 1. And then he actually lists Texas Tech and Alabama both as 14 overall. So one of those is 15. They both lost last night. Alabama lost at Georgia. Great for Georgia. I think that punches their ticket. And then Texas Tech lost at home to TCU, who's a desperate team. TCU needed that to really solidify their place as well. Kansas also lost last night. So all 3 of those teams went down. Kansas lost at Arizona State. And then Virginia is the last 4 seed right now. And again, Carolina beat them. And they're that close. You might flop. So I say all that to say Carolina still has a shot at that final 4 seed, depending on what happens Saturday at Cameron Indoor Stadium, Hansbrough Indoor Stadium, and also depending on what happens next week in the ACC tournament. So hope is not lost. Here's the good thing about the Duke game is that's not really a game that can hurt Carolina. In fact, Lunardi and others might say something this happens a lot. Hey, regardless of if Carolina loses, they won't fall, but they could move up. So that's something to keep an eye on. If Carolina wins that game, they could jump to the 4 seed line, which would kind of be crazy, and you'll definitely take it. Will Caleb Wilson play? I don't know. We'll find out about that. Coming up the rest of the week, Josh Marlowe is going to join me on our Thursday show. And then we'll get the Friday show. We'll get ready for Duke again. We're going to have additionally a crossover with our guy, JJ Jackson from Locked On Blue Devils. As much just trying to get you all the content that you can devour, because I know you guys are always wanting it. So thank you. I love what I get to do. I love that you guys want to hang out and be part of it with me. Let me just double check, see if there's any comments we need to attack before we get out of here. J-Rob Tar Heels asks, I know I'm in the minority, but if UNC beats Duke at Duke, will Hubert Davis win ACC Coach of the Year? They're 18-0 at home, 5-1 without Caleb Wilson, 5-1 against AP ranked teams, only played 15 games healthy. It's a great question, J-Rob. Here's the problem. I think there are multiple other candidates ahead of him. John Shire, like it or not, I think is probably going to win ACC Coach of the Year. But even behind that, you look at what a couple of the brand new coaches in the league have done, right? You think about over at Virginia, man, like to come in, brand new roster, and to get second seed in the league, that's something. And then Jay Lucas, brand new coach, has never done it before down at Miami, and they're going to probably be the 3 seed unless something wacky happens, as we just talked about. So I think Hubert Davis votes, but it's going to be one of those 3 guys that win it, and I believe it'll be Jon Scheyer. So it's a great question, but unfortunately, no. Swisher says UNC isn't getting to the 3 no matter what they do. If you're meaning the NCAA tournament, spot on. If you're meaning the ACC tournament, we just unpacked why they could do that. So we'll see. So I'm not sure which tournament you mean, Swisher. So one, yes, agreed. The other, no, it's still a mathematical possibility. We will see what happens, man. So there you go. That's where things are at. Great to be together today. Great to see all of you for joining us live. If you haven't subscribed to Locked On Tar Heels on YouTube, which go ahead and do that right now if you haven't, and if you haven't subscribed on your favorite audio listening platform, man, come do it. Come download them. Getting those downloads helps grow the show and helps things keep moving. So if Locked On Tar Heels is part of what you do and you're here for it, but you're usually a video person, go download on audio as well. That really, truly does help us. If you haven't joined the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, we'd love to see you there. If you haven't joined the Everydayers Club, a great way to go next level with the show. You guys, it's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. Can't wait to talk to you again tomorrow. But until then, cheer for, well, I don't know. Are we cheering for Miami tonight because we want to get that 4 seed locked in? Or do we want to take our chances that if they lose tonight, and we don't beat Duke and Clemson beats Georgia Tech, we could be the 5 seed instead of the 4. I think I'm going to just go ahead and cheer for Miami tonight. Get it done. Why not? But you might feel different. We'll see. We'll talk again tomorrow. But until then, peace.